Welcome everybody. My name is Kev Howlett and I run Busy Bird Publishing, which had the honour of publishing the book you see here today, In the Whisper of Time by Michelle Burke. Got a good echo here. Should play guitar. Yeah. At Busy Bird, we pride ourselves. We're only small, only like a micro. I love the echo. A micro publisher, so we actually really take pride in working with our clients one-on-one. Once we take the echo, that sounds a bit better. Yep. Beauty. As I was saying, Busy Bird Publishing is only small, and we take pride in working very closely with our authors. And we met Michelle, you're one of the old school now, 2016. When Michelle came to us with her first book, and we got to know a bit about Michelle. And she's become part of the furniture at Busy Bird. We kind of see her quite a lot. As you can see, I saw 4 books. They're at the front. With her 4 books, a lot of you probably know the story. I shall fill you in later about Cardboard Paul and the whole...
He's here.
Paul's here. So we've known Michelle for quite a while, and this book I know was in her head for quite a while. She was always... Her first 3 books are more kind of non-fiction, but this one she always used to say, I wanted to do a fiction book, blah, blah, blah. And it built and built, and she would talk about it for quite a long time, and here it is. It finally came out. So I'm actually proud that she followed it through. I'm actually proud of any author that follows it through, because I watch the journey that authors take from, coming to me with, a very raw manuscript, and then you have to edit it, and then authors think they just give it to me and then it just magically becomes a book, but it doesn't. We call it a journey. At Busy Bird, we hold your hand through your publishing journey, and it really is a journey. Basically, it's the editing, it's go check it, let's move it around, let's change it, let's design it, let's whatever. And it really is, the authors find it's not just handed over and it's done, it's a lot of work. And we actually find some people come walking in my door and it scares them off. They never follow it through. So any author that comes through and actually ends up with a book, please, shake their hand. They've done a lot of work to get to that point. So, and she's done 4, 5, yeah. So I always say writing a book is like tattoos. You get your first little one, you go, ooh, it's a bit scary. It might hurt. And then you go, it didn't hurt, and then all of a sudden Michelle's got a full sleeve of books. There you go. So I'm here just to represent Busy Bird and to say congratulations to Michelle today. Great effort. We look forward to producing your 10th book one day, which I'm sure will happen. Yeah. And a book launch is always traditionally to actually have someone here to launch the book for Michelle, who's the official person. And today we have the lovely Shell Brave up the back. Please be gentle with Shell. She's a little nervous today coming up here. Normally at Busy Bird at open mic nights we have to put a few wines in her and dress her up as thing, and I play guitar and she gets up and she sings, but this is a little bit out of her comfort zone. So the wonderful Shell Brave.
Hello and welcome everyone. Bit down. Okay. It takes quite a lot to write a book. It takes dedication, it takes discipline, and it is a grueling process. So when you get to the other side of that and you celebrate, it's a good day, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to celebrate the fact that Michelle's got another book out there. So thank you very much on behalf of Michelle for making the effort to come out and celebrate this day with her. Before I start, I have a warning about my speech. There's some mild coarse language and there are some supernatural themes. Of course, it's Michelle's book, so there has to be, but by and large it is PG rated. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Shell and I'm a familiar face at Busy Bird Publishing. Michelle asked me today to launch a book, so here I go. Michelle called me on a Saturday morning in January to do what I'm doing now, the intro for her book launch. I responded with, You know I have a fear of public speaking, don't you? And what you're asking of me is next level public speaking. She responded simply and directly with this. Blaise said to ask you. I thought, how bloody appropriate. Blaise sends a message from the other side for a book about what happens on the other side. For those of you who don't know Blaise, she was the other half of Busybird Publishing, the publisher of all Michelle's books. She was also the most faithful mentor to Michelle and so many authors, a friend and a bona fide earth angel. She passed in March 2022 at the age of 54. For Michelle, hearing the messages of those in the next realm is part of her everyday experience. So this message from Blaise was nothing unusual. Michelle would agree with this when I say I think this was Blaise's way of continuing her support of her writing and, it seems, also of phobic public speakers. I said a tentative yes to the book launch with the proviso that I get a copy of the book draft, plenty of time to prepare, and a bottle of Jack Daniel's whiskey for my nerves, just joking on the last one. Conditions aside, I was still unsure. We left it in the tentative zone and hung up. I then went out to do my grocery shopping in Fairfield, shopping done. I walked into a cafe and lo and behold, there at one of the tables was one of Blaise's childhood associates and friend who just happens to be a well-known Australian author. It was Arnold Zabel, author of Cafe Scheherazade fame. I made a beeline to him, explained my connection to Blaise and told him of Michelle's request and asked him for advice on launching books. He was generous in his offerings, by the way. As soon as I got home, I phoned Michelle to tell her that Blaise had sent me a sign and high-level assistance in the form of Arnold Zabel. Michelle's response was, and anyone who knows Michelle will get this, you can't make up this shit. So here we are. Before we get to the book, I just want to talk a little bit about Michelle. If you don't know Michelle, here's a snapshot. 1, she's not shy. 2, she is not burdened with self-doubt. 3, she calls a spade a bloody shovel. And 4, she only ever operates from her heart. And that is where A Whisper in Time is written from her heart. A few years back, Michelle and I attended a weekend writing retreat in Kinglake. Blaise placed us in the same accommodation unit where Michelle was already working on the book. Between sessions, I'd see her typing away at the kitchen table and she'd exclaim, "It's just pouring out of me. I'm just channeling this. My hands can't keep up." Sometime during that weekend, she also said, "I've never written a novel before, but this is a way to reach those people who need to connect with their intuition, but would never pick up one of my other books, which are all non-fiction." That comment told me of Michelle's drive and passion to help us tap into our innate spiritual abilities for the answers we need to heal. Speaking of drive, Michelle is a rally car driver when it comes to writing. I love how she just gets shit done. While other writers faff about with writer's block and I don't have time, Michelle bangs out her stories with gusto and gets to her goal. Another quality I like about Michelle as a writer is she is certain about her message. She knows her pocket and she owns it. Michelle writes on a range of very uncomfortable topics: death, dying, and what's beyond. It's the kind of stuff we avoid in conversation or speak about in hushed tones. But Michelle is just the girl to raise the volume on these topics. A whisper in time? Nah, she's yelling it out, encouraging us to talk openly and honestly about our fears around how to be with our loved ones as they are passing, support those who are grieving, and how to prepare both spiritually and practically for our own deaths. Tough stuff. At a writers' festival many moons ago, I heard Chilean-American author Isabel Allende speak about the death of her daughter, Paula. Paula died in her late 20s. I remember Isabel recounting her emotional devastation and speaking of her motherly desire to know where her daughter had gone to, even beyond death, imploring her child to show her, to take her just a little way into the realm she'd travelled to so she'd know she was okay. Well, Michelle goes there in A Whisper in Time. And finally I get to the book. A Whisper in Time is Michelle's fourth book, but her first novel. I'd describe it as a mixture of family drama, romance, as well as a travel guide with a spiritual bent. At its core is Michael, a non-believer in terms of stuff beyond the body in this life. If it doesn't have a solid form, it's just not real. However, when he loses his vibrant and spiritually attuned wife, Tiffany, to cancer, he looks to awaken his spirit to connect with hers. It is also the story of Michael's family, his daughter and two sons, and how they draw closer to not just support Michael in his grief, but move him through the venturi of his spiritual awakening. For me, the family Michelle created in this novel was the best part of the story. They're down to earth, they're supportive, they're loving, and they just adore each other. If they ever materialise in this life and they ask you to barbecue, you got to go. They're just gorgeous. I'm almost done. So to finish, I want to tell you a little bit about my perspective on the uncomfortable topics. When we lose a loved one, not necessarily to death, folks tell us we need to find closure, to put a stop to our grief. I've lost many friends and relatives, and that never made any sense to me. Somewhere along the way, I heard someone say, it's not closure we seek when we lose someone, it's connection, and that connection gives us comfort. For those we are attached to and lose, we don't want the door closed. Rather, we need the portal opened one last time so we can connect. In A Whisper in Time, Michelle shows us how. I'm all done. Over to the lady of the day, Michelle.
Thank you. You did well. Very well. Thanks, Shell. You did very well. I'm glad I pushed you. Well, here we are. You all right? I've been fluffing around for the last couple of days and a few things have not gone right, but anyway, we're here. It was interesting when I finished this book. I'm going to ad-lib a little bit, but anyway, I always do. When I finished this book and paid a deposit, I called into Bisburn and Kev, and I was coming to work, and in front of me was this number plate on this car called AIM. I think it was 134 or 413. I think it was 413. And I went, AIM, 13th of April.
It was 413.
Yeah. And I didn't know whether it was a day, what day it was, whether, you know, school holidays or whatever. And so I thought, no, that's a sign. If anyone knows me, well, I believe in signs and I see a lot of signs. So that's why we're here on the 13th of April. So thank you all for being here and celebrating the launch of my new book, In the Whisper of Time. And I was going to read the back of the synopsis, but I think we've been sitting in here long. So after writing 3 of my previous books based on true life, this was my first dabbling in the fiction arena. And this is just about how I created this story. One night in May 2021, as I was falling asleep, these words, "Please don't leave me, please don't go," popped into my head. This became the beginning of this book, which initially was titled Everything and Nothing, and then changed to In the Light I Will Follow. Then the title came from a conversation I had with my soul sister Jean Mary, who mentioned about a song that she was downloading. called In the Whisper of Time. And when she was singing the song to me, I was getting full-on body tingles, and I am now. And I asked, can I use that title for my book? And she agreed. So thank you. So once the story started unfolding, I would go on my walks with my puppy dog Alfie, and all these scenarios would just pop into my head, all these scenes. And not long after the book started morphing, I was invited to attend the Winter Solstice Writing Retreat with Blaze that Shell mentioned. I already had the beginning of the story, and whilst on the retreat I was able to discuss with Shell the storyline and play around with it. And we're sort of talking about a few scenarios. I'm not quite sure how this book was going to sort of work out, because it was too, sort of when you read the book, there's sort of these sliding doors come, sixth sense come, ghost sort of storyline behind it. So part of attending the retreat, we were asked to write one page using the image of a mug as inspiration. And these were the instructions, and this is important. Your task is to write one page using the image as inspiration. It can be something related to a work you have in progress or something completely new. It can be a poem, a story, an essay, memoir, whatever you like. You are not allowed to go over 500 words, and the piece must be self-contained. You can describe this item or not. It's up to you. It's meant to spark something in you, real or imagined. Please try to use all the senses in the writing: sight, sounds, touch, taste, smell, and even spirit if you're so inclined. So this was my piece. Sitting on the veranda in my favourite chair, I gaze, watching the flames flicker in the fire pit. The strong acrid smoke fills my nostrils as I feel the warm air surround me, keeping off the chill as I stare into the darkness. At the majestic cathedral mountains directly in front of me, I ponder. I look up into the dark sky, watching the stars dancing, as I try to identify the different planets and make a wish to the universe as the cool, crisp night air nips at my face. In the distance, I hear the hoot of the southern boo-book owl as the trees swayed slightly with their leaves rustling softly in the night air. My favourite cup held tightly in my hands, keeping them warm from the hot black tea I just made. I take a hesitant sip from my cup, trying not to burn my lips, mouth or tongue, tasting the strong Earl Grey tea. I was in my happy place, feeling relaxed and at peace, as the memories came flooding back. I promise I wouldn't cry.
Better out than in.
I know. And those who know where their happy place is. I stared at my beautiful ornate china teacup that was given to me by my mother on my 21st birthday. The cup was now well worn and had that familiar brown stains from the copious amounts of black tea that had sat in its bowl over the years. Thank you. I've got tissues around somewhere. I haven't even read my book yet. The handle was starting to show its age, by the roughness and the odd chip or two. The different patterns and colours on the cup now fading. My cup and I were aging and felt as though we were mirroring each other, going through the motions of life and the years catching up on us both. I remember the first series of teacups and saucers that I collected over many years and were now sitting proudly laden in dust in my crystal cabinet. I was gifted many different cups and saucers for Christmas, anniversaries, birthdays, and over the years and since my mother's passing, I inherited her collection of fine boned china cups and saucers that I cherish. It became a tradition in our family for each of the women to receive a cup and saucer for each special occasion. I put the song Love and Cup from an American blues band on my old record player, and I danced to the music that reminds me of the early Beatles songs. And as I pranced around the fire pit, embracing the vibe, taking me back to the 60s and a time of freedom, happiness and childhood and love, my cup overflows with memories. The prompts that Blaze gave about using all the senses in writing was the game changer for me, as now has how I approach my writing. My story, Red, in my opinion, is one of my best pieces of work I have written, other than probably this new book. During this process of writing this book, I had a major blockage and couldn't get past it, plus was busy at work and put the book away. Occasionally I would open it up and try to write something, but it just wouldn't come. Considering my first 3 books that I wrote, it took me around 9 months. I think the conversation with Paul took me about 6 months. I found this frustration that the story just wouldn't flow. Then one day the download started again. Although they came in different stages of the book, I would get the beginning, the middle and the end and just had to fill in between. I was starting to create the storyline, although still stuck at one point. Eventually, I just said, that's it, I need to get this written, and gave myself a deadline. I said to Sarah, my boss, I said, I've got to take a week off and I've got to sit down and push through, and started writing until I completed the majority of the book. During the process, I created the family background, researched burial plots, retreats and tourist attractions in Sedona, USA. I had fun shopping for properties on Stradbroke Island for Michael, and had found this amazing property, which is still, I believe, available, and it's on the market at a cool $1.5 million. I would seriously buy it if I had the money. This was my inspiration for many of the scenes. In the last part of the book, I created these movies in my head as they became my family. They as I said to David Cable the other day, I said, they're my people. One day I was heading into the city by tram and had my journal that I take with me just to write things down when they come. I opened up a page and started reading this piece I had written when I had this idea. Well, I had no idea I'd write it, and I read it a few times and thought this would make a great storyline for my book. This became the scene of the nightclub when Miranda returns to Milan. Whilst writing, I felt as though the characters were talking to me and we were creating this story together. In the second week of December 2023, I had finished the book and sent it to Busy Bird for publishing. The feeling of completing the book was freeing, as if the weight had lifted off me, plus I had this excitement of completing yet another book. When you're writing an email and you're sending the manuscript, that send button is the most amazing feeling. I remember each one. So I'm going to read part of chapter 9, as this was one of the first scenes that I started to envision on one of my walks. I won't read the whole chapter, although this might just give you an insight as to how the story flows. Hopefully I can read it. Oh God, the writing's too small, I won't be able to read it. Kev, this writing's too small. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I can't read it. Unless someone else wants to read it, but I can't. No, you'll have to wait and read it yourself. I'll just give you a bit of the way it turned out. So Michael had Michael lost Tiffany to cancer, and that's within the first couple of first chapter, like the first actually couple of paragraphs. And he's in this deep depression, and what I saw is him sitting in a food court, and he's just sitting there fiddling with his ring, and he does these goes back with these memories, these flashbacks, and he's just sitting there and he's going, oh, how long has it been? He says, oh, has it been 6 months? And he's sitting there and he doesn't know how long he's been sitting there for. And then all of a sudden this stranger comes and stands in front of him. And he sees this beautiful, tall, blonde woman with these gorgeous blue eyes. I say something like the eyes that you could drown in, these mesmerising eyes. And she said, hi, you don't know me, but Tiffany has sent me to tell you that she loves you, she's free and she's happy, something to that effect. And as he drops his head, trying to be the man and trying not to, lose it in the food court. He looks up and she's disappeared. And then the story goes from there. So this is the twists and turns in this book. So now to bring it home, here we go. So recently, I was asked to provide some feedback for Busy Birds newsletter, the article in the newsletter. And I was asked a few questions. But one was, have I got any advice for writers? And I said, I found the passion for writing in my mid-50s, and I haven't stopped since. I struggled at school, and English was not my strongest subject, and had no idea the structure of how to write a novel. I still don't. I only know that I love telling stories and putting them on paper. I find that keeping focused, dedication, and time is required to write a book. When the inspiration or downloads come, I write it down. I'm old school. Or when I'm walking, I record it on my phone. Highly recommend to download a recording app on your phone, which comes in handy when you don't have a piece of paper and pen. If you have an idea or light bulb moment, write it down and let the creative magic take you into another world. The other question asked was, how about working with Busy Bird to bring your book into the world? I have birthed my 4 books with Busy Bird and would do it again and again and again and again. I love working with the team and feel part of the family. Oh, where is it? Now I've lost it. Lost my pages. I'll be about right. Here we go. From meeting Blaze and Kevin 2016, when I completed my first book, I immediately felt connected with them both. Never writing a book before, I was guided through the process with love and professionalism, and nothing was too difficult. So finally, and when you stand in front of friends and family at a book launch, it is one of the proudest accomplishments. That you could ever experience, because it is bloody hard work, honestly. Though I'm fortunate, like some authors, find it difficult, but I'm lucky that I get these major downloads, and it's the most proudest accomplishment that you could ever experience, other than birthing your children. As long as I'm alive and breathing, I will keep writing and creating magic. So a big thank you to Shell, Kev and Les for being here today and also being part of this journey. Thank you all here for your love and support today in launching my new book, In the Whisper of Time. So my baby has been birthed. Yay! So if we go through into the other room, I've got books for sale. I've got a whole heap of other books. I've got all my books. There's Cardboard Paul out there. There's, you can have a photo with him if you want to. He enjoys photos. He's travelled around the world, and he's famous for travelling around the world. And books available for $20 today. Cash preferred. If not, I've got tap and go. And we've got coffee and tea and cakes and refreshments. So hang around. I'm happy to sign the book if you want me to sign the book. Yes. And if anyone's got any questions. What's her? What? Tracy. Oh yeah. Sorry, I just like. So if you've got any, that's all right.
Put her in the corner.
Yeah, we'll put you in the naughty club.
3 o'clock and I'm laughing.
That's all right. That's all right. Anyway, you missed the tears, but that's all right. So, but we videoed it so you can watch it. So, thank you, and.